How do you spell your last name?
G-A-L-I-F-G-A-L I-F-I-A-N-A-K-I-S. The concern, I'm against this project, and the bakery, they can do what they want to do, obviously. I think they're allowed to do that. Commerce always follows art. It always has, it always will. And I think the problem with this business is it seems like there's a real lack of reaching out to the community to know what the community thinks before the project started. There's been no reach out. I saw them do this to Jelena on Applicant, where it's this kind of like, here we are, we're cool, we don't care about the neighborhood. It's the soul-wrenching velvet roping of Venice, and I think we're here to say enough's enough. Yeah. And that's basically it. The soul-wrenching velvet roping of Venice Beach.
I'm Capt, S-A-V-A-G-E. I'm an artist. I live in Venice. My art studio is at 320 Vernon Avenue. And some of us choose to spend our time doing something that's good for us, but also good for the people that we live around. And that's something I've chosen to do. A bakery is one thing, but at some point you have to ask yourself, how much damage are you doing? There's people sniffing around our buildings every day. Cash buyers with big plans for restaurants and clubs and condos and all kinds of things. And what happens when they're gone? We can't stay if you allow this sort of thing to happen. It's reality. So please stop that. Thank you.
My name is R. Bevacqua, B-E-V-A-C-Q.
I was just finishing up. And your name?
R, A-R-A.
Uh-huh.
Last name B-E-V-A-C-Q-U-A. I'm a sculptor. I've been living in Venice my entire life, and I'm on 334 Sunset Avenue. And as of February next year, everyone has been asked to leave, and they want to tear down the structure for development. Now, I believe that this bakery could have a very strong possibility of setting precedent for what can be done, not only in our art studio that's been active for over 50 years, but all the art studios on the block and in the area. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Robin Rudisill, Chair of the Venice Land Use Planning Committee, and I'm here to say a little bit about the Venice Neighborhood Council's recommendation, and then the rest is my own personal comments. The VNC heard this case, I should say this project, and they made a recommendation, the voter made a recommendation to deny the project. It was difficult for us to try to prepare this letter because of the confusing descriptions in all of the different applications, but in the end we used the one in the hearing notice. That this hearing is coming up and we wanted to be responsive. Also, we're very concerned about the fact that we never received any new documents related to this hearing, no changes to applications. We've never seen what I heard referred to here today as a parking solution. But unless the lease for the lot next door has changed, I'm concerned that they don't have exclusive use of that lot, and I don't understand how that would count towards parking. I'm concerned about the CEQA case and how it reconciles to the different cases. I'm concerned about not getting plans sort of all along with.
I'm sorry, Robin. So is this me?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm trying to still focus on the process, not quality of life per se. But I'm concerned that we didn't get plans, and we didn't have parking calculations either most of the time that the neighbors were looking at this. I'm concerned that there this is a set loading zone that I know of, and what is traditionally used as loading zone or parking, looks like that's where the service floor area will be outside. I am concerned about LAMC 12.17.6, which talks about in the limited industrial zone, there's an issue with uses that cause smoke and fumes. And this is something that is as determined by a zoning administrator, so that will be at your discretion, but there have been comments about that today. I'm concerned about the
I'm concerned about the skateboarder outside.
Right, yeah. Can you hear us?
It's so distracting. Okay, industrial zone, yes.
So LAMC, and then the Venice land use plan, it talks about industrial land use, and this is a CDP as well, and I really haven't heard anybody mention about the being designated for this limited industrial land use. It's a policy of the city to preserve this valuable land resource from the intrusion of other uses, to ensure its development with high-quality industrial use. Commercial use of industrial designated land shall be restricted. Artist studios with residences may be permitted in the limited industrial land use category. The bakery's great, it's an industrial use. Artist studios are wonderful, that this is a recommended use for that. I don't see that a restaurant with alcohol fits the description, and I think where the disconnect is that we are allowing these cases, or these projects, to be bifurcated into different cases. And so when we get to the point where it's time to look at the CDP and the state requirements come up, you can see that this should have been considered all along. It should have been considered back when the VSO was done and this project started evolving. And lastly, I'm concerned about the accessory retail use, because that's what was approved by city planning on the VSO, and that is very specifically defined in the Venice land use plan as on-site retail sale of goods produced in an industrially designated land use. And so it's very clear. I don't think it needs any interpretation, and it's also very concerning that the building permit does not say what was approved. It says retail. Although it's very specific about the equipment. It says in a couple spots on the building permit that it's to be bakery equipment, and yet I heard a minute ago that there are detailed plans including non-bakery equipment. So then I start getting concerned about the disconnect possibly between what was approved by planning and what got into the building plan. So I hope that is looked into. But most of all, I'm concerned about the impact on the quality of life of these impacted citizens and property owners for the past several months, almost a year, in having to deal with this application for a use like this, adjacent to residences, that would, I think, be handled differently in most cities. And I think this process has been way harder on this neighborhood, mainly due to all the different cases being allowed, the bifurcation, and a significant slice of their life has been spent on this. And I hope,
too.
Yeah. And I hope you can maybe be the one, Maya, to take ownership of this problem and lead the way in city planning to maybe do something about it, because it's not fair to you guys or these neighbors, and to take it. It's really been a hardship on everyone. So, thank you.
My name is Esther Rauscher, R-A-U-C-H-E-R, and I don't live in the area. I live in Venice, 2118 Walnut Avenue. And I've been in Venice. I bought a house in Venice 30 years ago, and I love it. But I'm finding that I feel like, to be really honest, they always made Venice sort of this cash cow, and they want to make it into something that it's going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg, because it's changing the Venice so radically, and Julina's is a really good example of it. And I was surprised because I used to go to Abbott's Habit, which is down the street, and they were cited for having nice little tables, tiny, smaller than this thing, tables and little stools for sighted. And yet Jillian's had people sitting out front. I don't go to Applicant anymore. It's too crowded. You can't park. It's unsafe on the street when you drive. You can't drive there anymore. People are walking in the middle of the street everywhere. And it's nice that there are a lot of people doing business, but it's no longer a place for the community at all. And I don't like to see that be furthered. That the residents who live all around that and saw Abbott Kinney as a place to visit and see art and see small shops now don't go there anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. I ran into Alana in the bathroom yesterday when I brushed my teeth.
Yeah, I think you've heard from me a couple of times too. Before you start the clock, Jojo, can I just ask you about the parking map that he apparently presented a new one to you today?
No, he didn't give me anything. He said he has one, he thought he gave it to us, but we don't have it, so there's nothing for us to
So
look at.
can we ask how that differs from the one you have on file? Because it's important for us to know if anything has changed.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it does, but he doesn't have it with him.
Can he
to
tell?
show.
Could you ask him to tell us, please?
Sure. No, but not right now, you speak and
Well,
then.
no, because it has to do with what I think I need to say about that.
Well, it's your turn to testify, and then I can have him come up afterwards, but I need you to speak and then.
Well, can I ask, are the cars gonna, in the new plan, are the cars still gonna exit the alley?
Okay, I believe that's what he was.
That's
indicating.
still the case?
Yeah,
So,
but it's hard to say since we don't have anything.
right, well, this is what happened, I think, in the last hearing. Or we have something or we didn't bring it. So this happened at the VMC hearings, it happened at the LUPEC hearings. So, you know, we have someone who knows about this case and still doesn't prepare for his applicant that he's representing. So that leaves us in the dark again, which has been the whole process for the last year that we've been going through. According to that egress on the alley, the Department of Transport actually says that the alley is too narrow and he will need, all the places along that side will need to give up 4 feet. Now, because he doesn't own that property, I'm assuming the landlord will not give up 4 feet. So according to Department of Transport, that's actually not going to be feasible. May I ask that everyone against this project stand up? No, we need to.
We just want to come. Okay, this is your time you're
We need
taking.
to show.
I know everybody's against the project.
We have a process which has been obfuscating us since the beginning for the last year. We've been kept in the dark. We have a process which has been broken on purpose because we have an applicant who's finding loopholes and basing the entire project around those loopholes, essentially not following the law. We are a group of people, 400 plus strong, who have signed petition, turned up to meetings, turned up to hearings. Here again you can see we are obviously against this for very, very valid reasons because it affects our quality of life day to day, 24/7. The piecemealing of this over the entire year period has been, you know, the applicant has been taken advantage of the city process. He actually has been caught in lies by yourself, Ms. Ladzewski, by saying that he just wanted a bakery and then he changed his mind. Well, we knew from the beginning, from the actual lease that he signed, that his intention was a full restaurant with alcohol from the beginning. It wasn't a little oopsie, I've just changed my mind from bakery to restaurant. So please give us some credit in that, you know, we actually know what's going on at this point.
Your minute is
Okay.
up.
I just want to say that, I mean, obviously everything else is valid and very, very real for all of us neighbours. He's cheating the community, it's cheating the city, it's making a mockery out of the law, and it is actually also known as fraud. So we would like that you can actually rule in the favour of the community. As zoning administrator, I know it's your responsibility to ensure the integrity, the effectiveness of the process for the public support. And it's also Thank you. Thank you.
So, council office, LADBS, who's going first?
Good morning, Martha. I am Sergeant Robin Richards, and I'm one of the supervisors in the Vice Unit at Pacific area. And the applicant has submitted an application for a full line of alcohol beverage, on-site consumption, and requesting off-sale beer and wine. At this particular time, we at Pacific Division, Captain Johnson, we are opposing that request at this time. And that decision we came to that decision by listening to the community and hearing the business owner himself. Captain Johnson has seen emails, we have met with the community, and we have also met with the business owner. But taking into consideration all the aspects that goes along with consuming a full line in that location in close proximity to the residents there, at this time we will say we will deny the project. We constantly try to balance the needs of the community and the needs of the business, and at this time we feel the needs of the business, the needs of the community led us to say we oppose the decision.
So no alcohol.
No alcohol this time. In the discussion with the business owner, we agreed to say that at this time tensions are very high, emotions are very high at this time. Maybe we could reevaluate it 6 months or a year from now after we've seen what has happened and make a determination. Then, if granting an alcohol license will be prudent at the time.
Okay.
But at this time, we choose to oppose it.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Chris Robertson, Deputy Director of Land Use and Planning for Councilmember Mike Bonin. On October 31st, the council had submitted a letter to you, zoning administrator, and I think it's probably safe to assume that most people that have made the time to be here today have either read or heard of the letter, but I'll go ahead and read it into the record nevertheless. Dear zoning administrator, I am writing to strongly oppose the restaurant proposed at 320 Sunset Boulevard as currently designed. I'm strongly committed to revitalizing this area, which has seen unprecedented blight and deterioration. It makes absolute sense to bring in a new use that introduces the kind of positive activity that will help to make our streets safer and our communities a more active and vibrant place to live, work, and play. However, it is absolutely imperative that we do not sacrifice the sanctity and well-being of existing adjacent residential neighborhoods in the process. The success of one cannot be to the detriment of the other. The design of the proposed project is fundamentally flawed because the majority of activity will be concentrated in the rear of the site on the outside patio. The noise and other disruption that will result from the operation of the restaurant is an undue burden to place on the neighbors across the alley. I am deeply concerned that the noise and impacts from the patio, given the proximity to residences, cannot and will not be adequately mitigated. Furthermore, although the project may provide the parking required per code, and the developers have made efforts to address parking concerns, it does not yet meet the real demand that the project of this scale will generate. My office met with the applicant to try to find a reasonable solution to address these concerns. However, because the patio is integral to the project design and existing business plan, we have been unable to reach a compromise. I look forward to seeing the site redeveloped in a way that will better this area, but unfortunately the proposed project is not the answer. I therefore urge you to deny the project. Regards, Mike Bonin, Councilmember, 11th District. So, I won't spend any time editorializing on the council member's letter. I think it says everything it needs to say. But I do want to mention that this project, like many projects in Venice, brings up the issue that we often see regarding parking. And I'm very excited to announce today that the council member introduced a motion yesterday directing the planning department to look at the in lieu fee and make a targeted amendment to the specific plan to bring that fee to today's dollars using the consumer price index to account for inflation. He also moved that the planning department, as part of the upcoming local coastal plan efforts, re-examine the merits of the inland parking fees and explore the benefits and impacts of eliminated grandfathered parking rights. I'm available for any questions, and I'd also like to announce that Ara from Building and Safety is here as well if you'd like to ask questions. Thank you very much.
You're not Ara from Building and Safety, are you?
I'm Captain Johnson. I'm the Area Commanding Officer. I just wanted to clarify one point. that for the position of Pacific, based on the density study from alcohol beverage control and the saturation of ABC licenses, it's my position that there not be any more ABC licenses. So I'm not open to reevaluating.
Are you all right?
Yes.
Would you come up? Thank you for attending. I asked him to come at the last minute just because I noticed a lot of the letters, the emails I've received there's some concerns raised about what they're operating there right now under what's change of use allowed, a bakery with some retail. And there was the neighbors felt that serving of sandwiches and baked goods that are not baked on the premise, their meats, their whatever, that aren't typically found in a bakery. And is the permit actually permitting, is there CVO permitting what they're doing?
RSRC, SARGSYN, Food and Safety, Western LADBS. The current permit and CFO allows bakery and retail. And there is no any application as of today submitted for any restaurant change of use or any parking layout check or review. I haven't seen this morning. I did just review on the project. And 320 only. I didn't know that 318 is connected to, but I don't see also any affidavit, any parking covenant agreement between this property and some other property there. The uses bakery is the way you define bakery. One thing I can tell clearly that the CFO doesn't allow any consumption of food within premises. So that's only the dining restaurant will allow to have consumption of food or beverages within the premises.
And what do you think about the parking lot?
I haven't seen that parking lot.
Would you consider that not being in line with the prohibition on consuming it here? Can they walk out the door?
Well, the thing is, each property owner is responsible for any violation of the code conducted or any violation of the code of property. Now, if I'm renting this to some parking agency or to my neighbor listening, whoever is my customer there or whoever is my guest there, so they are violating the code, it's my responsibility as a property owner. Now, to say, oh, it's not in my property and somebody else's property, building safety will cite the property owner, first of all, and business owners for violating the code. Now, if there is a parking, I'm not sure if there is a parking permit or use of land permit is issued for a parking, but if this parking needs to serve as a parking, so we cannot have an outdoor dining there. So for outdoor dining, we have a code section that allows to obtain outdoor dining permit and then provide food outdoor of the building and consume.
Yeah, the only thing I could find for this property, there was a demolition permit for the vacant lot. The three properties looked like they were tied. This one, and then I think these two buildings are connected, so the three lots are tied. And Zima said the use of land was vacant land, so not parking lot, not anything, just
vacant lot doesn't mean that you can park there. So
right. So if nothing else,
secured by use of land permit for parking as a standalone lot, or if it's tied with other buildings, needs to be shown on the plot plan of the permit that there is a parking provided on tied lots.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the CVO that was issued for the bakery retail, because they had a non-conforming parking credit, they didn't have to show this as being attached to it because
That's right.
This is all extra.
CFO shows 0 parking spaces, so it means the change from office to bakery and retail per Venice specific plan, these are equivalent restrictiveness of parking, so there is no change in parking requirements.
But the pictures showing food that's not baked goods that's being served there means
and it's being served in
what
some.
the hell?
Although I see pictures, people are having picnic there eating that.
No, but so inside the building, if they're serving food that's not baked goods from the bakery.
Well, this to me, by my interpretation, would be closer to commercial kitchen if there is no consumption of food. The closest one I'll say, like for catering, commercial kitchen, they can bake and cook and barbecue anything they want, but they are taking out from the premises. They are not consuming within the premises.
But is that allowed?
In the premises.
As a bakery, my personal opinion is that this last chicken legs are not
Right.
bakery. So that's my personal opinion. So bakery.
So they might have an issue with this, the current SIBO, if this is what they're trying to sell there as a by right bakery. That might not be what was perceived to be a bakery.
Could be takeout restaurant. It's another definition,
Could have
or
different
commercial
parking requirements.
commercial kitchen. So could cook any food. But bakery to me is whatever you bake there.
Okay.
I'm not trying to reinvent dictionary, but
Right.
that's my understanding.
Well, sometimes dictionaries are helpful. And I spoke to Ken Gill yesterday, and I was mentioning at the beginning of the hearing, because their plans were showing that they had, that they had the non-conforming parking credit from changing use from office to bakery retail. Then they were claiming that they still had 6 more non-conforming credits left that they were going to use towards the parking requirement for restaurant. But that, he told me that once you get your change of use, once it's issued, there's no more like going back into the past and finding a credit from a prior use.
You didn't mention anything about that conversation, but I'm getting what was the issue there. So
You can't just keep carrying over from project to project, non-conforming.
if CFO issued for current use and current use has 0 parking spaces, if change of use requires for new parking spaces, then they need to provide new parking spaces. But sometimes being proactive for the business owner or the landlord doesn't help them. For example, let's say the adjacent lot, if I provide parking spaces, that becomes, as soon as I provide parking spaces, these parking spaces may become required parking spaces for existing non-conforming use. Then after a month, once I already get permit finalized for use of land for parking, I cannot claim the same parking spaces as for my future change of use. Let's say as of today, parking would be required for this use, 12 parking spaces. And I'm providing voluntarily like 8 parking spaces right now, even though I don't have to. As soon as I provide these 8 parking spaces, they are still covering my non-conforming conditions. So they are going to be counted towards to the non-conforming parking. And the next day I come and ask for additional change of use that requires additional parking. I cannot claim these 8 parking spaces. They are already gone as compliant with their old use.
Okay, and I saw on Zemus, there was I think a complaint filed with your department. I don't know if it has to do with the fence that's being constructed in the rear or the use.
I was shooting just like
It doesn't, I don't.
can get back to you right now.
Yeah, I can't access whatever it was that was filed, but somebody's filed some sort of complaint with opening safety. Okay, thank you very much for coming, I appreciate it. We have the applicant and the representative come back up, and then I'm going to ask a few more questions, and then I'll conclude the hearing. If there's anyone who wants to receive the determination letter and didn't sign the sheet when it came in, they'll be up here. If you could just put them that way. All right. So it would have definitely been helpful to have your new parking layout. And so she was asking, and I was trying to speak for you so we didn't get into some sort of back and forth discussion, but you're still trying to maintain this through driveway.
Yeah, optimally, with an attendant, not valet parking, but attendant parking on site, we can get from the tree to the drive, again, with attendant parking, we can get 11 parking spaces. And then through the back, so there aren't cars going consistently through the back and through the back alley, we would be able to supply 2 parking spaces in the back. And that would be for employees or somebody that's going to be working there either late at night or 20 hours. So With attendant parking north of the tree, we can supply 11 parking spaces, again, with the attendants. And then there are also, through alley access only, we can provide 2 parking spaces in the back, next to the shipping container.
So where's the shipping container?
It is tucked into the southwest corner, right here.
Okay. So right now, the bakery, what are the hours of operation?
We are open 7 to 4.
And when did you open?
We opened 2 weeks ago.
So one of the many letters I got was questioning the DOT referral form analysis, because the person, I don't remember the name of the person who wrote it, it might have been one of the concerned groups, but they noticed that the referral form from DOT listed the bakery as an existing use, which gave you 200 trip credits. So adding the additional restaurant floor area, you netted out to not requiring a traffic study. And they questioned that, saying that the specific plan, you have to be vested for at least 6 months as a use before you can get even a 50% credit. And under the specific plan, if you want 100% trip credit, you have to have been there using that use for a year. So if you opened 2 weeks ago, even with when your date of your CBO was July or whatever, you haven't had anything there that's generating 200 trips for the past 6 months to get 100 trip credit. And you have clearly not been there for a year. So Pedro Ayala said that he did not understand that when this was filed. He said that if you, he would have to revert back to the trips that were the last trip generator, which was office. Can't give you any credit for a bakery use. So he did the numbers and said that it would result in an increase in 45 p.m. peak trips, which would generate a traffic study. He said, however, if you eliminate the patio, that would get you below the threshold, and you could, you wouldn't have to compare a traffic study. But so just as I was concerned with that the referral form hadn't been done as part of the application process, but then when you did turn it in, you were showing him an inaccurate use listed as an existing use. Because when you filed it, it wasn't even existing, it hadn't even opened. But this specific plan is very specific about how long you have to be there to get the trip credits. So I would suggest thinking about how you could deal with that, because if you do a traffic study, that's just throwing you back months and months and months. If you really want to have me take an action on a restaurant with a patio that's generating that many trips, it would require a traffic study. I wouldn't recommend that. But that is, at this point, I have no ability to prove the patio portion because it's generating trips that exceed the requirement for a traffic study. So we have that.
Okay, is there a timeline on a traffic study, and who issues that traffic study? Or
You'd have to hire a consultant, and they submit it to DOT, so there's a turnaround time. I would suggest calling Pedro and see what your options are.
Okay.
And given there's all this, controversy with this patio, I mean, it might be your best option is just to eliminate it and have just interior seats. But you have opposition from LAPD with the alcohol. They want no alcohol sold there, on-site or off-site. You have, we don't know what the status is of this parking lot, so that's up in the air. And then, this will generate too many trips to accommodate what you have done to date with your environmental. So I've just taken the case under advisement for you. You contact Pedro
okay.
and see what the options are.
Okay.
All right, and email me back. And when you get the parking plan, can you submit it to the neighborhood council?
Sure.
So that, and you don't have to go back.
Yeah, well, if we could submit it to you, and if you could forward it to the NCA, that'd be great.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
All right. So I am taking under advisement once again, ZA 2013-3376, CBP, CUB, SPP.